Aloha and welcome to the video. So in this video, I'm going to be making a two-piece set. This was a custom request from a client. The first piece is going to be a medium-sized Leomo, the paddle with shark teeth that go all the way around the outside. And then on the handle, it's going to have a marlin bill Pahoa or dagger. And so it's going to be kind of a combination piece. And then the second piece is going to be a lima Leomo, or a knuckle duster is what you would probably notice it as. The fighting style of both of these weapons is probably a little bit different than what most people would think. Both of them would be used more as a slashing style weapon rather than blunt force trauma. But I'm going to be starting first on the Leomo and then moving to the knuckle duster afterwards. The first steps here is just going to be gluing in the marlin bill. As you can tell, I'm doing a tongue and groove style joint, and then once I have that glued together, I can shape it, and then I'm going to end with a lash. So it'll have a mechanical lash that holds it together, plus obviously the epoxy glue that'll go in between the joint. I did notice some small cracks, or not cracks, but some small hollow spots where the epoxy didn't quite fill in. So I'm just using a little bit of CA glue to fill in those cracks, and then I can begin shaping. The shaping on this piece is pretty simple. I'm just going to be smoothing out the edges, bringing it down so it kind of has a paddle shape. So it's a bladed shape, so it's thinner along the edges, thicker towards the middle, and then having some contours where the handle will go. And so for the majority of this piece, it's a relatively simple build, just a lot of sanding, a lot of fine-tune work, and then putting in the teeth. Now that I have this piece sanded down to 320 grit, I can oil it. I was super excited to oil this piece just because it had an absolutely gorgeous tight curl. You can see those tight little waves. It's like a micro curl. And then the contrast between the darker koa wood, the Hawaiian koa wood, and the marlin bill, which is a lighter gray looking color, just looks awesome. I love how this piece was turning out, and it had a really good weight to it as well, just because the marlin bill was nice and dense and thick, and so it balanced out really nice. But man, this was gorgeous. Love the way this looks. I'm super pleased so far. I was going to use a similar piece of wood for the knuckle duster, but I ended up using a slightly different piece just because I wanted the contrast between the two. But man, this is absolutely gorgeous. The oil I'm using is a tongue oil. I use that for pretty much all of my pieces. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you would see the same tongue oil. After I oil it, I'll let it dry for about a day, 24 hours, and then I can start lashing it, which will be the last step for this piece, and then I can start working on the knuckle duster. The first step on the Knuckle Duster is just going to be tracing it out and cutting out the piece. It's a fairly simple look. It's kind of just a half circle with another half circle inside. So kind of what you would expect on a Knuckle Duster style piece. Now the difference between the lima Leomo and the standard Knuckle Duster that most people are familiar with is this is not a blunt force weapon. You wouldn't use it to necessarily punch. You could, but that's not really the design of the piece. It's really meant to be a slashing tool. So you would slash with it just like you would a knife, except for it's a knife that would wrap around your knuckles. Now obviously, once the teeth are damaged or broken, at that point it could be used very similar to a standard Knuckle Duster, but that's not the original purpose or design of this style of piece. And so to start off, I'm just hogging out as much of the inner material as I can using those larger bits, and then I just go ahead and start using a hand file to work away and smooth it off, and then I'll be using sandpaper to kind of finish it off and make the inside nice and clean. And then it'll be basic shaping, so contoured edges around the outer where the blade's at, and then rounded where the handle's at. And I'm going to be putting in a little bit of design work on it, just where the handle meets the blade, but not much. I want to keep this piece relatively simple. This piece I also sanded down to 320 grit, so it's a little bit, it's a finer sand. Not too fine. It still has some curl to it. It's a little bit darker of a koa, but I wanted that contrast between this piece and the other piece because they are a set. They go together, and so I thought if I had that contrast between the two, it would look a little bit better. But I do like how this looks. It's just a very simple piece, and it looks very brutal. So the last step on this piece is going to be lashing it, and then I will be finished with both pieces. Here is the finished piece, or pieces. So this is the Knuckle Duster, or lima Leomo. This turned out great. I love the way that it looked, and I like its simplistic look compared to this piece here, which is the Leomo, with a Pahoa dagger on the handle. Beautiful curl on that grain. I'm going to take it outside so you can see it in the natural light as well. Man, that looks awesome. I love the way that it turned out. I'm very pleased with this piece. If you liked it, go ahead and leave a like or comment down below. If you like my videos, please subscribe. It helps a ton. And if you don't mind, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions or things that you would like to see me make in the future, please go ahead and leave that in the comments. I do read them, and I do occasionally take from those ideas and bring them to life. Mahalo nui for everyone that follows along. I appreciate it greatly. This is a ton of fun. I love making these and being able to share that process with everyone. Well, I'll see you on the next video. Aloha.